The next criteria when placing market animals, market steers especially, is structural correctness. So we've got a steer that's adequately muscled, he's adequately finished. He's got to have enough structure to be able to get him back and forth to a feed and water source. So we start these animals at the ground. If you notice the feet of this steer, he's pretty big in his foot, he's pretty big in his circumference of bone. And that's fairly desirable in the market steer arena. So we look at their feet, we want to see how square they stand on all four. We come up to their hock here, and we study their joint. Now this steer is just a little bigger, a little coarser in his joint, but still one that has some set and flex to his hock and pasture in there. He sets down good at a 45-degree angle, so we'd anticipate that this steer will move adequately enough off of his rear skeleton. So as we go to his other lower joints up here on his front end towards his knee, we like it to be a C. From the point of his shoulder, we like it to gently set back and then come right back out to the end of his foot. So we call that a C motion again, from the point of his shoulder all the way down to his foot. That knee joint should also be one that's fairly smooth. We want it to be pretty good in its circumference, but not too big, not too coarse, to where it causes any type of swell or any type of hindrance to that steer's movement. Also, if you notice on this calf, he toes out a little bit. Now that's one thing, if you see one right off the bat, you're thinking, oh, maybe he's going to be a little straighter out of his shoulder. He does toe out a little bit. We like him to toe ahead a little truer. We want those feet and legs to all point the same direction, straight forward. So when we ask this steer to lead here in a minute, you'll be able to study maybe how his joints work together, and you try to see what you anticipated when you saw him standing still, and see how that matches up to what he actually looks like when he's on the move. So again, when we're talking about structural correctness on these market steers, we start them at the ground. A good structurally sound animal has good feet. This steer is pretty good in his foot shape and design. He's got a rounded shape there to the outsides of his feet, but he still sits very square on all four. He's got some bone, he's got some circumference there. He's a little bigger in his joints than maybe we'd like to see him. That's the one place we like to change this steer. He's a little bigger in his joint there. We like to see that a little smaller. Then we like these steers, especially up front, to be laid back at a 45-degree angle at their shoulder and also at that pastern. And when they are laid back like that, they form what we call like a gentle C. So from right here, from the point of his shoulder, and flows all the way down there to his foot, that should be just a gentle bend. So to have just a little bit of flex, a little setback and cushion there to that knee area. As we move back to his rear skeleton, and we talk about his rear leg, again, those feet should be pretty good in their shape. He should have some circumference of bone, which this steer definitely has. So as we're studying him, he's one that maybe, again, he's a little coarser in his joints, a little coarser in his hock. You see just a touch more bulge and fluid right there over his hock. So that's one place we want to change him. So we probably anticipate that this steer will move adequately enough, but still could be a little looser. He's probably going to move just a touch stiffer here out of his rear joints due to that extra swelling and coarseness to that joint. But for the most part, this is a steer that stands pretty square on all four. He toes out a little up front, a little coarser jointed, but still one that we anticipate that will probably move in a pretty adequate fashion.